going on, guys, and welcome back to another Pokemon Wi-Fi battle. Today I have another PU match. This one is against Brandon from Twitter, and I'm using the same team as I was in the last video, just because I got some pretty interesting mons on here that I kind of wanted to experiment with some more. So, looking over at Brandon's team, I'm kind of afraid of the Gourgeist. He has the Ariados, which could set up the sticky web. It could be a little bit of a dilemma, but yeah, let's go ahead and just hop into it. I decided to lead off with Electrode this time. And it actually works out for me because he leads off with Riptide Jr., which is the Croconaw. And this allows me to get a free Volt Switch. I know he's not going to want to stay in, so he decides to switch into Brick, which is the Bouffalon. So, big-ass Afro comes in, absorbs the Volt Switch, and it does a decent amount of damage. She's got some staticky-ass hair now, so that's a problem, but, you know. This allows me to freely switch into Carbink here. So I bring out my Rock Candy, and I'm kind of trying to scout out what type of Bouffalon this is going to be. He shows me that he has leftovers, and he actually goes for the taunt on the first turn, which actually is very unfortunate because I'm unable to use my Reflect there. So I actually expected this thing to be an offensive Bouffalon, but not the case here. He's actually now going to go for Toxic, as I actually avoid that, and I just kind of went for the Moonblast, expecting him to probably want to switch out maybe, but he actually stays in, try to go for the Toxic, and Moonblast is obviously not going to do anything to this thing. So Carbink is pretty much screwed here. I can't set up my Stealth Rock, can't do either of my screens, so I don't want to stay in here and Moonblast again and risk getting Toxic. So I decided to switch into my Drifblim here. He does go for the Toxic. It's really not that big of a deal for Drifblim. I do have the matchup here because I can scare this thing out with a Will-O-Wisp. I know that he does have that Magmar on his team to be able to block it, but I actually went for the knockoff there expecting the Magmar to come in, but he actually stays in and takes the knockoff, which kind of is a bummer because now I can't go for the Will-O-Wisp at all, so all I am left to do at this point is pretty much Acrobatics, and I still have my items, so I decided to save Drifblim for later, and I'm just going to switch right into Rampardo. Seeing as this is not an offensive Bouffalon, I should be able to take any attack this thing once, as he actually ends up switching himself, so we got a little bit of double switch here. He ends up going into his Croconaw, which is better for him, so I have to switch Rampardos the hell out of here. I don't want this thing to end up setting up on me. I know he's probably going to Dragon Dance, but he actually ends up going straight for the Waterfall here as I brought in Triangle, and the Waterfall is going to knock me down to the point where an Aqua Jet would kill me, so I have to switch out here. I decided to go into my Dugong here, and I know Dugong doesn't really have a whole lot that I can do to this thing, but I'm able to at least absorb the Aqua Jet, and Electrode is going to be really useful later, so I really did not want that thing to die. So yeah, at this point, I believe I'm just going to go for a Toxic, as he's going to switch out and goes into Viper, which is the Ariados, so he's going to predict the Toxic nicely, and at this point, I honestly, there's nothing really I can do. I know this damn spider is going to spray its fucking webs all over the place, and it's going to make me nice and slow later, so I take this opportunity to at least switch into Drifblim here, as he goes for the Sticky Web. So the damn webs are obviously a problem. I don't have a Rapid Spinner on this team, so they're going to have to stick around for a while, and, you know, we'll see how I can work around them, but, here I decide to go for the knockoff, as he actually goes for the Sucker Punch, which is decent because that's going to knock me down to my Citrus Berry. It's going to activate my Unburden and allow my Acrobatics to have full power. So here I go for the knockoff, and I honestly, I probably should have just went straight for the Acrobatics there, honestly, now thinking about it. I was kind of expecting him to maybe switch, but here I actually go for the Will-O-Wisp, and I probably really should have just gone for the Acrobatics again. I don't know why I went for the Will-O-Wisp. He's going to go for the Poison Jab. It's going to knock me down to a decent amount of health, but here at this point, I actually make a damn misclick. Here's what I get for using a fucking large eraser as, as a stylus. I actually click Destiny Bond, as I really meant to click Acrobatics. This would have been a dead-ass spider, but the worst part about it is that his attack knocks me down to 1 HP, and I die to my poison. So not only did I have a terrible misclick, it didn't even pay off for me because my fucking Toxic killed me, and it wasn't the Ariados. So that is really annoying. This thing really should be dead because I fucking clicked Acrobatics. When I saw that it went for Destiny Bond, I was like, wait, what? I mean, I don't know. I was using one of those big-ass art erasers. That's the last time I do that, but honestly, it wasn't really that big of a deal. It's not going to mess up the game for me a whole lot, but that Ariados is still alive here. But Joint's going to come in. I'm able to get my burn, as he's going to bring in the Gourgeist, as I pretty much expected, because it's his best counter to Raticate. But I also notice at this point, Raticate does a whole lot of work to his team, so I'm going to save that guy for later, as I'm now going to switch into my Dugong. So I know that he probably does have Seed Bomb, which would be able to hit me for a decent amount of damage, but he probably also does not want to be taking Ice Beams to the damn Pumpkin, because obviously Gourgeist is not the most specially defensive Pokemon and all, so he's actually now going to switch into the Ariados. Ice Beam is going to knock this thing down to the point where I think Burn actually kills it. Yeah, so the Ariados should already be dead, but at least Dugong got to kill something. So, you know, that's a win in my book, at least. So this allows him to now get a free switch back into the Bouffalons, and he actually goes for the Facade here. I'm not really sure why he did that, maybe expecting me to Toxic him or something like that, but Facade obviously not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage, as I just kind of stayed in to scout out how much an Ice Beam would do. And this Dugong does not have much offensive investment, so obviously it's not going to do a whole lot, considering this is also a pretty bulky Bouffalon. So I know he's probably just going to Facade again, and I'm like, you know, this is a good opportunity to bring in my my Rampardos here. The Sticky Web isn't really that big of a deal. I am Choice Carved, and I'm going to be faster than a lot of his team anyway, so he actually goes for the Toxic, I'm assuming trying to whittle down the Dugong, but yeah, honestly, Rampardos doesn't really care a whole lot about poison because I'm a Glass Cannon and all that stuff, but here I predict him to switch into the Gourgeist, so I actually decide to go for the Crunch. I know it's not going to do a whole lot of damage, but it's better than if I were to go for like Earthquake or something, and plus I have the chance to get the defense drop, but I do not get it. It was worth a shot anyway, but I guess you could call Rampardos a cheater pumpkin eater because I'm out here biting pumpkins and shit. But yeah, so I have to switch Rampardos out here. I know he's just going to be able to eat up another Crunch and potentially like Synthesis and all that fun stuff. So I actually decide to switch in Carbink, who is still nice and alive and well here, as he's actually just going to go for a Seed Bomb. And I ate that up because seeds are fucking tasty, but especially pumpkin seeds. That's the best shit ever. But so I know he's probably just going to want to set up the Leech Seed as he does. I'm actually going to go ahead and Reflect here because I want to be able to allow my Pokemon to be able to take attacks much better. This allows us a lot more options of switch-ins into this Gourgeist here, so he does set up the Leech Seed. I don't really plan on staying in here long, so it's not really that big of a deal. And now since I got that Reflect up, I'm feeling pretty confident being able to switch in Dugong at this point. Plus I want to get out of here, get rid of that Leech Seed. So I decide to switch into my beautiful shiny Dugong here, as he is actually going to go for the Will-O-Wisp, I believe. So I get caught in the Sticky Web, all that kind of fun stuff, as he does go for the Will-O-Wisp. Dugong does not care about being burned at all, other than the fact that it's just going to kind of whittle me down a little tiny bit, but it's really not that big of a deal. It's better than if you were to just go for the Seed Bomb there, so that's pretty cool. Here at this point, I'm kind of trying to consider what he wants to switch into an Ice Beam, but I really don't have a whole lot of other options other than going for, like, Toxic. So he's going to switch his Gourgeist out of there. He realizes it's pretty valuable to him at this point, and he's now going to switch into his Bouffalon. So I went for the Toxic, probably the best idea at this point, considering Ice Beam would have really done anything to this guy, so I can potentially stay in here and go for a Protect just to stall out a little bit more Toxic damage, but honestly, I want to conserve my health as much as possible as well, so I decide to go ahead and switch back into Carbink at this point. Carbink is definitely my best switch in at this point. I know I'm going to be able to eat up a Facade very nicely, and I'm honestly not too worried about the fact that he's just going to be able to go for the Taunt, basically because he's just going to take Toxic damage, and I honestly don't really care about keeping Carbink around at this point. If I could get Stealth Rocks up, that would be amazing, but he is going to go for the Taunt here, and Carbink's like, oh shit, I'm pissed off, I gotta attack you now. So I go for the Stealth Rock. It's obviously not going to work, and this thing has just one more turn left in him. So he goes for the Toxic. At this point, all I can do is literally just click Moonblast. Gonna throw the fucking moon at this thing. It seems like it would hurt quite a bit. It's a pretty big-ass object. But yeah, so down goes the Bouffalon. I'm pretty damn stoked about that because that thing was definitely a pretty large threat. So at this point, he is going to bring in his Croconaw again. And I was like, oh shit, this could be a little bit of a problem here. I know he's definitely going to want to start setting up Dragon Dances. I know what this thing does, and I honestly, I don't really have that many options here. So here I actually make a pretty weird play. I know that he's going to Dragon Dance, but I want to force him to be able to just kill off Electrode, so that way I could have a free switch into whatever I want. So I know he's going to Dragon Dance at least once, as he does. That forces him to have to go for the Aqua Jets. I get a little bit of Aftermath damage, and unfortunately Triangle did not do a damn thing here. And yeah, so the Reflect wears away. I could have enjoyed that thing staying around for a couple more turns, but I did the damage calculations, and Raticate at this health is able to take at least one Waterfall from a +1 Croconaw. And here he actually decides to go for another Dragon Dance. And this is a textbook case of a person doubting the abilities of fucking Raticate. Look at that. Facade is able to take that thing out in one hit. Honestly, it was really useful having the Aftermath damage because I don't think it was able to one-hit KO, but the Aftermath put it just in range. So that is pretty damn amazing. Here he's going to bring in the Gourgeist. Obviously, Raticate cannot touch this thing, so I decided to go for the U-turn, still get a nice little chunk of damage. I fucking love using Raticate, man. This is one of like my OG Pokemon that I always used to use, and it does work, let me tell you. But yeah, so I bring in my pretty much one check to this this damn Gourgeist, as he's going to set up a freaking Leech Seed again. So that's kind of annoying, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of options of switch-ins at this point, and I kind of really need to keep Dugong around to be able to finish off this damn Gourgeist. Fucking, this pumpkin is so damn good. I honestly don't understand why it's in PU, because it's a really good wall for a lot of other tiers as well. It does work. It does work, let me tell you. But Yeah, so here's where I probably should have made a prediction. He's going to switch into his Magmar here as I go for the Ice Beam. I really should have gone for the Surf there. Every other time in the match he has switched out his Gourgeist, so I probably should have took that as a hint that he was going to switch into his Tit Duck here. But honestly, I kind of want to just play it safe, because had I gone for the Surf and he just stayed in and Seed Bombed, it would have been really bad for me. So there's a lot of times where you do have to play it safe, but I feel like I should have gone for Surf there. But this allows him to go for the Flamethrower, and check this out, I'm Specially Defensive, Thick Fats, I'm able to live that, and then still throw a Surf at this damn thing, which is not going to kill it, but it does a nice little chunk of damage there, and Specially Defensive Dugong is actually pretty damn badass. I fucking love using this thing, so unfortunately he does still have the lead seed around, and then the burn damage is actually going to kill me, but you know, still, I did like at least half to that thing. I was able to live a Flamethrower, so that's pretty cool. I call that a win. So down goes Dugong, which is unfortunate, but this allows me to get a nice little switch into Rampardos here. And I know that Tit Duck does not have any move that's able to kill me at this health with one hit, so I expect him to want to switch into the Gourgeist here, and I predict that and go for the Crunch again. So I'm just keeping on biting pumpkins. That's pretty much what the theme of the match was here for Rampardos. So I go for the Crunch, and check this out, I actually do get the defense drop. That was exactly what I was hoping for. Thank God I was able to get that, and that is actually going to put this thing in range to the point where I believe one more Crunch is able to kill it. So that is pretty damn amazing. Bite this pumpkin one more damn time, and that thing is going to die. So Gourgeist was definitely a pain in the ass. I knew that was going to be from the start, but I'm really glad I was able to take care of it. I got a little bit of a luck there from the defense drop, but you know, shit happens. It's Pokemon. So he's now going to switch into his Magmar, and at this point, I decided to switch in Carbink, basically just for Death Fodder. That way I can get a free switch into my Raticate. I'm feeling pretty confident that Raticate is going to be able to sew up the match here, so I decide to switch in Carbink just to die. A Psychic critical hit actually only knocks me down to 6 HP, but unfortunately I died to my poison, which obviously doesn't matter because I wanted this thing to die anyway. So finally, this allows me to get a free switch into Joint here. I'm going to get caught in the Sticky Web. Doesn't really matter because I know I can take an attack from the Tit Duck anyway, as I'm just going to go for a Facade. I'm guessing he actually predicts the Sucker Punch here because he switches into his Swoobat, which we have not seen at all yet, and a Facade is able to take that thing out in one hit. So Raticate is just taking names right now, honestly. I get hurt by my burn a little bit, but he has to go into his last Pokemon, which is his Magmar, and at this point he actually locks himself into Psychic. He told me at the end of the match that his Magmar was choiced, and he kind of had to go for the Psychic considering I did still have Rampardos around. But a Facade is able to take out the Magmar, and that is going to be the end of the match, guys. That was a pretty interesting one. I'm really enjoying these PU matches. Leave a comment telling me what tier you would like to see me play in, because I am going to be doing a lot of Wi-Fi battles coming up here pretty soon. But yeah, so hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.